Hi, this is Mark from Altcoin Buzz, and we're going to take a look at Bitcoin after that big dump that just happened. What could be happening overnight? What are we going to be looking for tomorrow? Let's take a look at the charts real quick and try and dissect this together. Let's start off with Bitcoin on the USD 1-day chart and the Ichimoku Cloud. Remember, we were talking before about trying to find support here on the 21-day moving average, and that we had this very tight trading range with the pressure from the 50-day moving average up above it. We had the volume by price range as resistance that we hit our head against a couple times with a couple wicks. We had the Bollinger Bands that were very tight, and we knew that there was a big move coming because the volume had been declining to a point where it wasn't going to take much to make a big move in the market. Well, that big move came in just a very short time. We'll take a look at that. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, we had been holding up this trend line very well. This 4-hour trend line on the chart and held up on the daily as well. But this trend line is what we have been watching. We were making some higher lows. We were not making higher highs, which was one of the things that was concerning that we were talking about. This candle totally took that trend line out. So now we're not in that trend line anymore. What does that mean? Well, we'll go back to what we were talking about the other day and look at some other things real quick. Now, I've taken it up to the 6-hour timeline just a little bit to give us a little volume by price and just look at the volume in general. And you can see that volume came in definitively in a very short time frame. That volume actually came in back here. If we look at the 5-minute chart, so each one of these candles now representing 5 minutes, you can see that this volume started to come in right about here, and we broke through the trend line on some large volume, and that just continued down. Now, that could have been taking out some longs that were just below that trend line. We'll go back and look at where the horizontal resistance was from there, because that was probably coming in at a point of control. And now you can see we're developing this flag in here with declining volume, which unfortunately, if this continues, would mean that this is not the end to the downside. The bulls are really going to have to fight back to get this price back up to a respectable range. Now remember though, once we break through support, this now becomes resistance. So if we make a play to try and come back up to this trend line, that is now going to be a resistance zone for us. And the reality of us coming back up to that to even test it as resistance here before tomorrow is going to be very low because that volume has declined back to where it was before. This move just basically dumped out the market and then sucked out all of the volume. We'll go back to the 4-hour candle, but we'll use the volume by price along with it. And you can see that the dip came down to 62.25, 62.30 range, very close to the support area that we would be normally looking at on something like this. The volume by price is showing that we really couldn't afford to go past that level any further. There was no support below the $6,200 range. The bulls fought back from here, from this 62.50, and fought it back up to the price point that it's at right now, at the 62.20 area, which is now going to act as probably the resistance for us right in here at, we'll use even numbers and call it 63.50 to 6400 is now going to be our new resistance line. We're off that trend, this upward trend, and now we're looking at horizontal resistance, and that's where that resistance area looks like it's going to lie, and it shows up on the VPVR right there at the bottom of that volume. If we just take a look at it a little bit closer, you can see right in here we've got a gap. If we could get past the 63.50, you've got a little gap that would take you back up into this area of resistance by volume and make some sense back here on these candles. In this range, this is where your resistance is going to lie in the next 24 hours at least. Now, if we add in another indicator, we add in our stochastic RSI, obviously this is going to whack that indicator out, right? We are going to take a dump off of that. But if we just took a look at now, if we can't find support in this area right here, there's plenty of room to move down still. Remember, the other thing that we're talking about is every time that we had made a move back up after making, if we just take a look at this chart again, we've been talking about this for months. And then this is, you know, if you don't believe in technical analysis, that's fine, but it seems to be, you can look at the trends and they just show up every time on Bitcoin. We've been talking about how as we've come down and made a move back up, the highest that we've been able to get to on that move back up, if we just take a look at the very high here and the very low here, back up to the 618, right? Back up to the 618 again is where we got to on this. We came back up, we take the highest point on the Fibonacci from here, the lowest point down here. We didn't even make it back up to the 618, but we had talked about that being the area that we've been trending the whole time. And again, we've been talking about this for months. We came up to here, we came back down, we made a responsive move back up, and that was only to, again, the 618 over here. So very tough when people say that support and resistance lines don't work anymore on Bitcoin, TA doesn't work on altcoins or the crypto market overall. It proves itself to hold true every single time. At minimum, it gives you an opportunity to take a look at things and understand where you want to be when something like this happens. So let's put things into perspective here a little bit and keep things real here, okay? We did have this kind of drop back here. This is about a 4% drop in here. Today's drop was almost 5%. And what happened after the drop that we had back here? Well, you can see we started trending back up again. Now, this could be simply a reset of this trend line here and potentially a reset now of our trading range. If our trading range comes in here now in the 65 and the 62.50 range, that might be our new trading range. Where we were up in here before, we may start trading down in this level now. Where we would start getting nervous if we start breaking through this area in here. Below 61.50 in that range is where I would start getting nervous because we don't have a whole lot of support below that. The more we keep testing that $6,000 area, especially with the way that wedge is compressing, and I'm not going to go into that right now. We've covered it plenty of times and plenty of people are talking about it. But the way that wedge is compressing and this area of support down in here has been tested so many times, it's not going to take too much to break through that again. Now, there's a lot of people saying, oh, the mining costs, the miners, Tether, all of that is going to protect that $6,000 area. But you can't count on anything in Bitcoin. I just look at the chart. I use the technicals. I use what the probabilities are to make my judgments on. And typically, you can't test a support area that much and have it hold. So that's where I'm not going to be a doomsdayer and say if we break through that, or if we start touching on that, we're going to break through. It is a concern if we break through this area here and can't find support there. So that'll wrap it up for tonight. And I did want to let you know that Martin and I are going to start doing some members-only technical analysis courses so that you can learn how to look at the charts on your own. If anything, if you're hodling and you're not doing any kind of trading, swing trading, day trading, anything like that. If you're day trading, you're not watching us do the technical analysis. But if you just want to have some confidence, this was a sanity thing for me to learn. I just didn't want to be at the whim of the market. I didn't want to see Bitcoin go down by 5% and go, oh my gosh, am I going to lose all my money? So if anything, it gives you that kind of confidence to look at it. And then you can start looking at it and saying, do I want to start trying some leverage trades? Do I want to get into swing trading and try and increase my position in Bitcoin? Or do I simply want to just hodl and hope that things go my way in the long run? Hey, long term, I'm bullish. So hodling, if you're there, is fine with me. I just would rather have a lot more Bitcoin in my back pocket as things start going back into the bull market and increase my profits along the way. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and hit that alarm so that you know when these videos pop up. And until next time, may all your trades be good ones.